Get the meat of your essay, like what it's about, over and done with first. Then do your title page. Why don't you paraphrase it? Because most of your essay is just direct quote, direct quote, direct quote. Some people don't like it. What's up, friends? Welcome back to KimmyDTV, a place where nurses and aspiring nurses come to achieve academic, career, and life success. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to write evidence-based papers for your nursing classes. Okay, guys, so you guys know that, you know, in my RN to BSN program, I have to write evidence-based papers. So when I first found out that I had to write evidence-based papers, I was quite alarmed because, you know, in nursing school, when you're going for your associates, at least, you're mainly focused on like tests and stuff like that. It's not really on papers too much. I had to do a few papers for my English 2 classes because you guys know I have to take my soft sciences with my regular nursing classes. But by the way, I made a whole playlist on like my RN school journey, so you guys can check it down in the description box below. But I had to relearn how to write evidence-based papers. So without further ado, here we go. Here are some tips on how to pass your how to write evidence-based papers in nursing school. Okay, now before I start this video, I want to let you guys know that I actually took the time to create a long step-by-step video where you actually see on my screen exactly how I write my evidence-based papers. So if you guys really have a lot of trouble learning it, you can get access to that. All you have to do is one thing, which is join my Blueprint to Nursing Facebook group, which you will find down in the comments down below. Okay, guys, so I made a long video about how to step-by-step write it. Like, I went into detail on how to write an APA formatted evidence-based paper for nursing school. So you guys, if you guys need more help on that, I totally got you. Go down in the description box below, okay? So the number one tip when you're writing your evidence-based papers is to look at the score guide. So the score guide, I can't show you guys right now because, you know, for legality reasons, I don't want to get in trouble with my school. But the score guide basically shows you what to do to get a C, B, and A. So you don't want to bother yourself with how to get a C or a B. I have a philosophy: shoot for the stars, land on the moon. So you're just going to want to go look at the A column really and see what are the points that you have to hit on your essay to get an A on everything. And then if you mess up on a few things, that's fine, because most likely you were aiming for A, you will pass. Okay, so that's the number one thing. Like, no matter what you write on your essay, you have to make sure that you abide by the score guide. There's also instructions that my school gives to when they're asking me to write an evidence-based paper. I also look at that too, because sometimes if you just go by the scoring guide, you may miss what they are asking for. Sometimes it could be a little bit confusing, but generally speaking, if you go by the score guide, it could be helpful. But definitely look at additional instructions or anything that they ask you to do, because sometimes that could help guide you to understand the score guide, and that could guide you into figuring out more details on what to put in your paper. Okay, but generally speaking, make sure you hit all the points in the score guide, and the points that they ask you in the score guide, you can use that as titles. Okay, so like I said, if this doesn't make sense, you can find out in detail in my Facebook page. Okay, so secondly is find all of your sources. Okay, so in my school, they actually have a library of sources that we actually pay for from our tuition. So basically, evidence-based sources, what does that mean? That usually means, according to my school and probably according to most schools, is that it's peer-reviewed, meaning that other people within that field have reviewed it. Okay, so that makes it more credible. What does credible mean? Meaning it's the source is good enough to use. All right, so for example, I'm gonna give an example. I'm not going to write a paper on diabetes and look at a YouTube video, and because somebody made a I could make a YouTube video. Anybody with a camera could make a YouTube video. Anybody can just open up their camera and make a video about YouTube. That is not a credible source. I'm not gonna source, oh, well, I watched KimmyDTV and this is my source. I'm gonna want something that is backed up by association, that is backed up, that other peers have reviewed it and have approved it, have given their check marks. So that is what they mean by peer reviewed. It has to be within 5 years. So if you're looking at a video, or if you're looking at a website or a blog site that has been written 8 years ago, you can't use that source in your paper. You're going to want to use something that has been written within 5 years. That's another thing. And like I said in my video on Blueprint to Nursing, I go even further in depth in how to actually identify if a source is credible. Okay, some basic things is you're not going to use a .com, like those kind of things. Anything that's trying to sell something, those aren't considered credible sources. Sources that are backed up by association and stuff like that, those are considered more credible. So that's one thing. You're going to want to gather your sources, especially if you're given the choice to choose something. For example, if they say choose the illness to talk about in healthcare society, you're going to choose something that has a variety of information out there. For example, diabetes is so common in America, unfortunately. There's so much information out there. There's so many studies. You can find so much information about it. It's not going to be so hard for you to find it. So that's another tip, okay? Another thing is you're going to think of your ideas, okay? So another tip when writing evidence-based papers is think of your ideas. And the whole point of it is when you think of your main ideas you want to write, you're going to use those evidence-based journal articles or websites or whatever you found to help then support your main ideas that you want to put in your paper, okay? So a lot of times when people have writer's block, it could be for various reasons, but one of the reasons is because they don't really actually understand the topic that they're talking about. And that's why sometimes writing essays can take a while, because sometimes you have to read through what you're talking about. So for example, I'm a nurse, right? I've been a nurse for almost a decade. If somebody asks me to write a paper on diabetes, you know how many patients I had that has diabetes? Not only that, like I went through LPN school, I went through RN school. You know, if I'm reading something online, it's only gonna reinforce what I learned. However, if I'm in my BSN course and they're touching on something I've never read before, it's gonna take me a while to read through it. I'm not gonna skim through it quickly. So what I'm saying is that make sure you understand the topic. Go on different websites and understand the topic before you start writing it, because essay writing is essentially speaking but through paper format, okay? That's another thing, okay? So some people, when you're citing your sources, some people like to use Quillbot or other websites to paraphrase it, but I say, you know, there's no, I'm not against it, but I never used it, so I'm not gonna say, hey, use it. But if you understand what you're reading, if you understand what the author is writing in the journal article, there is no reason to use Quillbot because you understand what you're reading, no? So all you're doing is paraphrasing it. For example, if I ask you right now, describe what you did today. Oh, you went out, you went to the gym, you went to work, you had chicken to eat for lunch. Do you need to think about that? No, you just tell me because you understand what you did, right? So it's the same thing. If you're reading something and you understand what you're reading, all you have to do is paraphrase it, but just type it out. And then of course you want to put it in APA format, and there's like a specific way on how to do it. Check out my Facebook page to find out exactly how to do APA format, okay? When it comes to direct quotation, you can direct quote like in text citation in your essays, but it does increase your safe assign score. And y'all may be wondering what is safe assign score. So safe assign score is basically when you submit your essay, it goes into a database or a system or whatever that checks your work against other people to make sure that you didn't copy and paste somebody else's essay. So Sometimes when you use direct quotations, it could be like, oh, your safe side score is 60, 70, 80, even though you've referenced it. Some professors don't care. They're like, okay, it's fine if the safe side score is high as long as you have given the author proper credit. Some professors I've had in my BSM program was like, oh, well, you know, why don't you paraphrase it? Because most of your essay is just direct quote, direct quote, direct quote. Some people don't like it. So that's why I'm saying try to paraphrase as much as possible so that you won't have a high safe assigned score, okay? So if you write something you know about already, it will be easier. Last step is to format it in APA format. I always say get the meat of your essay, like what it's about, over and done with first. Then do your title page, then do your references, then worry about formatting in APA format. However, initially, when you're first doing your essay, just at least format it in Times New Roman, 12 font, and make the paragraph double spaced so that you make sure that you don't go over the page limit. Because some professors don't mind if you go over the page limit, but some professors take off points. If, for example, the professor says it has to be 4-page and you do 4.5, minus 10 points. I hate when they do that. But some professors are stickler like that. So at least format it where it's double spaced, Times New Roman, 12 font. So if you go over it, you kind of know. You know what I mean? So once you finish the meat of your essay, then you're going to do the front page, and there's a way to format that in APA format. Then your references, then you put your references last. You can use APA format generator. My favorite, you'll find out if you watch the video on Facebook, in my Blueprint to Nursing Facebook page. And then you format it, and then you're all set and ready to go. Okay, guys? So writing in APA format, writing an APA-based, evidence-based format, paper, whatever, is really not that hard if you put your mind to it. I know it could be daunting if you haven't been to school in a while, you haven't written essays in a while, but it's really not that hard. You just have to, number one, like, you have to know what you're talking about. If you know what you're talking about, just remember, number one tip is, it's just, essays are just, you're just talking. You're literally just talking, and you're using evidence, like basically from journal articles that are credible and websites that are credible to support what you're talking about. Okay, and I also have the sandwich method, guys, that I talk about. So y'all want to make sure y'all sign up for my Facebook page so you know exactly how to write evidence-based papers. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to watch it, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.